we go back to Timbuktu, which is in Mali.
Mali.
When was what was the time period?
Time period. Timbuktu, though. Well, Mali would have been from the 1200s to about the 1400s in the time frame. I don't have the exact dates memorized, but it would have been around that time period. Because what I do remember is 1492, which is the date that most of us say remember as the day that Christopher Columbus landed in America. That's significant in Africa's history because Sun Yali, which was one of the emperors of Songhai, that was the year he died, and Aski Muhammad took over, and Aski Muhammad ended up being Songhai's greatest emperor. So I do have that date stored in my memory, but in terms of specific years and dates, don't have them all stored.
So blank right now.
That's all right. I take your time.
Back to mentioning about that wall.
Benin.
I pronounce it wrong.
Benin. Yes.
I like this. There's got to be a book somewhere that probably had difference. Probably still standing.
It's not. There are parts of it are standing, but it's been severely destroyed because I mentioned that in the book. When the British came and colonized Benin,
Right.
they destroyed most of the city. So much of it was destroyed in the assault on Benin, and then just from years of not being preserved properly, it's also collapsing. I think that's the other thing that they did too. They went into African these societies, which were large cities. Benin, and they're described as a large walled city with polished houses. So these weren't people living in huts and like mud huts and that images. But what happened was Europeans went in there and they destroyed the city. So part of the process of destroying our history is that Europeans went in there, wiped out the civilizations, and then they told us that we didn't have civilizations because they're the ones that destroyed it in the first place.
That's what usually happens. With those people, that's Mali, Benin, or that's Nigeria.
Yes, in Nigeria.
And how many different, we got the Igbo, the Yoruba, what's the other groups of people there?
Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba are the main three, but Nigeria's got hundreds of different tribes.
We use the one that really
Yeah, those are the main three.
controls it, but really the main two. Like, and so forth. We're going to learn it. That's why I need to reach. I'm glad you wrote these books because this is not the level that I've gotten down into in my studies. As my studies are so far removed from this, and so much older that I think sometimes I think about studying that it'd be nice to narrow my focus. Focus on maybe sometime focus on one thing, one equal, one place, rather than focusing on the whole, the big picture, so to speak.
That's why my approach to writing my books is to be as detailed as possible, but as concise as possible. So I don't write a whole lot of big books. I'll write many small, detailed books.
These are good. Like I said, I read it, and I'm gonna have to read it again because as you were speaking, remember the idea of seeing the numbers, the counting system, the mathematical count. I did read across that, and it was clear. I mean, I understood it as soon as I was reading, but it's a little different. And I look back at the Kemites and their math. They also had something similar that they did.
In terms of how they do numbers, No, yeah, like I said, I wrote this book first, and then I began studying Lingala from the Congo, and I found that they had a similar system. So one of the things that you'll find in Africa is that you'll start studying one region, and then you'll find a similar concept similarities in other parts of Africa. So as vast and as diverse as Africa is, there's a lot of cultural similarities throughout the continent, which is why Sheikh Anta Diop wrote that book, The Cultural Unity of Africa. Yeah, that's what he's referring to. So things that you might find in Egypt that you think are just solely Egyptian or Kemetic, you'd find in Nigeria and South Africa, Central Africa.
Yeah. Real. That's.
I know even with us here in the diaspora, we have certain aspects of our culture that we think are unique to us, but then you go to Africa and you find people using some of the words that we use, eating some of the foods that we think are unique to our culture.
Yeah, I was, and let me go further than that, because when I was living in Michigan, at Fort Morton, there was a lot of Indian in this country that works at the law, especially in computer science and information technology. And we was dealing with some people in Chennai, big, large information technology center in Chennai. And they were doing a project had to do with counting some of the things and recording it on a grid. And one of the things that I learned when I was a kid was the word we used was nil.
Zero, right?
Zero.
Yeah.
And when I saw that written on the grid that they sent back to me, I'm thinking, that's India. I'm over here in America. I've been doing this since I was in the South since I was small, but don't do it anymore because I don't use it as you say zero or no. Well, really, zero. It was going to be no or zero. I thought we might just leave it blank, but when I saw the nil, I'm like, okay, that's how. And then I had to start to think that even though they are that far away, the origin of certain way of speaking or a certain terminology spread it off in one place. So that kind of brought me back to, and also understanding a bit about their history too, and their movement, people moving across the land, and similar, like you just said, similarities in culture. There's I don't have to read his book. I mean, I know I have one of his books. I don't think I've read it, and that's about Theophilo Benga, which is from the Congo, and he's a linguist, and I need to read the book because he points out a lot of those similarities, too, especially in the language.
Yeah, he was a student of Sheikh Anta Diop, so a lot of the Diop's ideas he built on. And yeah, language was a big thing that Diop focused on, too, the similarities between Wolof, the Wolof language in Senegal, and the Egyptian language.
I have Diop books. I've read some of his, but I just been a long time since I read the book, but I don't have this is good. Like I said, and these are, I'm definitely, for my purposes, I'm definitely going to purchase one of each, and I got to purchase two of Marcus Garvey. I need one for my grandson. His roots are Jamaican, his dad is Jamaican, so I want him to know, even though he was born here, he's 14 years old, 11 years old now. We want him to know at least that much of his Jamaican history. And he's going to probably
They should get him, they've done a couple books in Jamaican history, like the one that you're currently reading about the Caribbean essays. Yeah. There's a lot of Jamaican history in that one as well.
Yeah, says Caribbean. Probably doing that too, but we're going to get him to read this one. Why he's.
No, yeah,
I'm not going to wait till he gets 15, 16. I'm going to get it for him before Christmas. And he's going to. But I'm also going to get myself one, so I can refresh myself with information.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Marcus Garvey is I feel like even if you're not Jamaican, because Garvey was Jamaican, but his influence impacted African people throughout the world to the point where if you're of African descent, there's a good chance that some part of your history was influenced by Garvey. For example, the fight against apartheid in South Africa. Garvey influenced that. Our civil rights movement here was influenced by Garvey. Kwame Nkrumah leading Ghana to independence. Nkrumah's biggest influence was Garvey. So apart from Jamaicans, I think all African people need to read about Garvey because he's had such a massive global impact on all of the struggles. I mean, even when you look at a lot of African countries have the red, black, and green flag as their national flag.
Thank you. Absolutely. I'm completely because when I have that map of where they think all different flags.
I mean, it's interesting that Garvey had such a massive impact, and a lot of people don't understand who Garvey was or what kind of impact he really had on our struggle for freedom.
Yeah, we have a lot of our elders. Some that's still alive, some that's been German ancestors that had so much impact on our culture. Shame on us because most of our people don't have no idea. Just do not know. I don't know. They don't know whether or not the question is whether or not they care. That's the
But it's a common. I think it's a little bit of both because, yeah, a lot of them don't care, but at the same time, a lot of them don't know. And I mean, I know from my experience, when you start really studying history, finding out who you are as a people, you'll be interested. It becomes like a desire to learn more when you find out that everything that you've been told about who you are is a lie. So I think some people you can reach if you just give them little tidbits of the history. It'll inspire them to want to learn more.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Because I mean, it goes back to what I was saying about the Great Walls of China. Most people know about Great Walls of China. Most people could tell you a little bit about Asian history. Even people that don't really follow history, they could tell you a little bit about European history. They can't tell you anything about African history because we're taught to believe that it's nothing.
Yeah, I think we also taught in this country and even in the diaspora, Africa, the history, the education system, they're not taught history. And even now, they're not taught their own history, they're taught European history.
Even on African continent, a lot of people don't realize a lot of Africans born and raised in Africa don't know history. So some of them, I mean, so that you have some Africans, they can't even speak their own indigenous language because everything there is so Eurocentric that parents teach their children English, French, European languages, and they don't even bother teaching their children their own native language. So a lot of languages in Africa are actually becoming endangered because it's not being passed on. And like I pointed out in the book, traditionally we were people that are very great about passing on our history or culture, whether it's, like I said, through written means or even where written languages didn't exist, we memorize it and we pass them orally because we understood that to keep our history, to keep our culture alive, we have to keep passing it down through the generation. So that's within our tradition, that's the kind of people that we are, and that's one of the main things about ourselves that we've lost is that tradition of passing on.
That's now storytelling. That is true. And it's lost forever. There are still groups that still do that. I'm not going to say they're here in this land, but there's still groups in Africa. There's definitely groups in Mali that go around here.
Yeah, the griots, yeah, that's it. Yeah, we already read about the griots too.
But
They still have those, and that's the thing too, they have that advantage of maintaining those elements of their culture. So even though it's a challenge for them to maintain history, they still have people there that memorize the history. Now our challenge in the diaspora is that they've wiped out so much of a culture. We don't have a tradition of griots, so we had to develop that along the way. So we produce historians like John Henry Clark, like Carter G. Woodson. Those people became our griots, and they became that out of necessity, not because of the tradition that's passed on.
Right.
I mean, to some extent, what I'm doing became a historian out of a necessity to inform people of our history, not because I'm trained in the tradition of being a griot.
I believe. Because that's what we need. I mean, this is what I